Hey guys, thanks for joining the Revived IT YouTube channel. Today we'll be talking about Microsoft Sentinel. We're going to be talking about what Microsoft Sentinel really is, the benefits of running a solution like Microsoft Sentinel, and then we'll actually go ahead and get you set up with Microsoft Sentinel within a few minutes, and we'll just go over some of the baseline settings, just to get you set up with the environment itself. Now, what is Microsoft Sentinel? Microsoft Sentinel is a cloud-based security information and events management solution. Running a solution like Microsoft Sentinel actually helps your SOC team with their workloads, and it also brings in Microsoft's expert knowledge and database in regards to security anomalies, threat detection, and a fair few things like that. When you run a solution like Microsoft Sentinel, you also have the option to actually automate some of the responses that you would have in the event that you notice an anomaly. So it would actually take some workload off your SOC team's plate as well, because you can have some of these automated as well. Now, without taking up too much time, let's go ahead and jump straight into the video, and let's get started with setting up Microsoft Sentinel in your environment. To start setting up your Microsoft Sentinel Workspace, first you'll need to go to portal.azure.com. And then once you're in the portal, I like to keep my resources organized, and I would also suggest that you first create a resource group so that you can have your resources in a more organized manner. So what we're going to do is we're going to select resource group from the list of services. If not, you can also just search resource groups, and you can select resource groups. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new resource group for this Microsoft Sentinel Workspace. So I'm going to hit create, and I'm going to give my resource group a name. You can give a name that's going to be meaningful for your organization or for your environment. So I'm just going to call it Sentinel Lab. And I am in the Australia region, so I'm just going to look for Australia East. And make sure you pick the region that's specific to your organization or your environment. And let's go ahead and create this resource group. Just hit create. Now that should start the deployment. Yeah. Now if you go into resource groups, you'll be able to see the newly created resource group Sentinel Lab. So let's just jump into that. Now for a Microsoft Sentinel Workspace to function, you'll also need a log analytics workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a log analytics workspace. You can hit create and then look for log analytics workspace, and you can hit create. And I am going to give this a name that's meaningful to this. So it's lab log analytics, and make sure to pick the same region that you picked for your Sentinel or for your resource group. I'm going to hit create on that. So you'll need to wait for the deployment. So you'll see the deployment is in progress. Yep, perfect. Now the deployment is complete. Let's jump into our Azure portal. Let's go back to the home page, and then we can search Microsoft Sentinel from the list of services and select Microsoft Sentinel and select create to start creating your Microsoft Sentinel Workspace. Now here we've already got the log analytics workspace that we created, lab log analytics. So I'm just going to select that. I'm going to select add, and what that's going to do is it's going to add the Microsoft Sentinel Workspace to this log analytics space that we just created. So we'll wait for that to add itself. Um, Yep, perfect. And now you'll be presented with the Microsoft Sentinel dashboard. Now, if you are eligible for a free trial, you'll be notified of this when you do launch the dashboard. So you can go ahead and select OK on that. And we're going to set up some baseline settings here just to make sure we've got all our settings configured properly. So you want to select settings from here, and now there is a few different payment options and usage options for Microsoft Sentinel. I generally tend to stick with the pay-as-you-go service because I find that's the most cost-effective service for my organization and for my environment. But as you grow your Sentinel services, and as your organization expands, or if you support an enterprise, then you can definitely use one of these options here. Next, go into settings and make sure if this is your central workspace, or if this is going to be your main Microsoft Sentinel dashboard, make sure you select this. In our case, since this is a lab environment, I will not be doing that, but in your case, if that's a primary workspace, make sure you check that as well. And then for playbook permissions, now playbooks are automated workflows that's going to run on certain anomalies or analytic rules that you have in place. So let's go ahead and configure permissions as well. Now, if you do have a separate resource group for your playbooks, you can go ahead and select it from here. For our purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to store all my workbooks, all my playbooks in the same lab resource group that I created. So I'm going to select Sentinel Lab, and I'm going to hit apply. Done. And that is pretty much the baseline settings for your Microsoft Sentinel workspace. Next, let's jump into actually getting a few data connectors up and running and actually start ingesting some of the data that we have on Microsoft 365. So for this purpose, what I'm going to do is, for the purpose of this lab, I'll be using inbuilt connectors, so connectors that are native to Microsoft's product suite. But keep in mind, you have a large library of third-party data connectors where you can ingest data from Cisco, Proofpoint, and fair bit of data connectors on here that you can actually get set up with. But for this purpose, like I said, we'll stick with the Microsoft native ones. So let's jump into data connectors here. Now you can see here, currently there's no data connectors at the moment, and there's nothing's been connected. So what you want to do is you want to jump into the Content Hub here. So you can select Content Hub, and I am going to sort by provider, or I'm going to filter out by provider. So I want to stick to Microsoft. So content that has been published by Microsoft, so select that and hit apply, and here you will be presented with a list of Microsoft products and services. Now for my use case, I'm going to do the Microsoft Enter ID connector, so I'm going to select it from the Content Hub, and I'm going to hit install. Now what this does is it deploys 64 analytics rules, 2 workbooks, 1 data connector, and it makes 11 playbooks available. We'll get into more about the analytics rules and the workbooks once we have the data connectors up and running. So we have the Microsoft Enter ID connector. Next, we will also see what we have here. So Microsoft 365, that's some content that I need as well, and we'll do Defender for Office 365 as well. let's take a look at some of this. Yep, well, for now we'll stick with them. We'll stick with the connectors that we've just installed. So go back into your Microsoft Sentinel data connectors, and we'll give this page a refresh. And now you'll be able to see the three data connectors that we've rolled out, or we've installed. Next, we need to go ahead and actually get these connectors set up so that they can start ingesting some of this data. So first, let's start with Microsoft Entra ID. So I'm going to select the Entra ID connector. I'm going to select Open Connector Page, and I'm going to start ingesting all these logs. Now, keep in mind, you will need to have an Entra ID P1 or P2 license for some of these, or pretty much for most of these logs. So make sure you've got the appropriate licensing for it, and then you'll need to hit Apply Changes. Perfect. Now, once it applies, it might take a couple hours for it to actually start ingesting some of this data. So we can actually go ahead and do the same for the next connectors in the meantime. But once you see some of this data coming across, you'll notice that you'll have these light up in green, and they'll show a connected status in there. So let's just jump back into our connectors. We'll do the same for our Microsoft Office 365. So we want to ingest SharePoint, Exchange, and Teams data. So you'll need to hit that and hit Apply. Yep, perfect. Again, you'll once we see some data coming through, you'll notice that these will change to a connected status. And lastly, Defender for Office 365. Now, yep, you'll see the prerequisites for this connector as well. So you need Global Administrator, you'll need a Defender for Office 365 Plan 2, or any license that actually includes it, and hit Connect. And once that's connected, let's just jump back into our connectors and see. Now here you can see we've connected three XDR as well. It's part of the Microsoft Defender solution, so you might see that come up here as well automatically. Defender or Microsoft Entra ID seems like it is taking a bit longer to connect, but that's fine. Next, let's go ahead and set up our workbooks. Now, workbooks are you can think of it as a dashboard that actually includes useful information from your Microsoft 365 connector, from your Defender for Office 365 connector, Defender XDR connector, your Microsoft Entra ID connector. So yeah, any content that you actually roll out, chances are that they will have a correlated workbook for it, so that you can actually read some of this data that's being ingested and actually make a bit of sense as to what this data is. So select workbooks from the list, and you want to go into your templates. Now these templates are templates that have been included as part of your content. So you can actually select some of this here. So firstly, you can see as part of the Microsoft Entra ID solution, we have sign-in logs and audit logs. So I'm just going to select the Entra ID sign-in logs. I'm going to hit View Template, and I am going to hit Save on this. So yeah, now you might not have any information here just because there's no data that's been rolled out yet, or there's no data that's been ingested. So let's go ahead and go back into the workbook section, select the workbook that we want, and let's hit Save. I want to save it to the same region as to where my Microsoft Sentinel solution is. So I'm going to hit yes on that. Wait for that. And then I'm going to do the same for these other workbooks. So enter ID audit logs. I'm going to hit yes. Now the workbooks themselves, they take a couple of hours for the data to be visible on the workbooks. So I'd say, do your setup and maybe give it about 24 hours and check back on these workbooks to actually see what they actually look like. For today's lab, I have a few workbooks that I've pre-set up prior to this to actually have things show up, and just to show you how these workbooks look like. So let's just jump into one of these sample workbooks. So if I go into view saved workbooks, um, you can actually see here, now this is what a workbook with the data itself would look like. You can break it down to your users. There's a bit of information like sign-in trends over time, which parts of the world or regions you are actually seeing sign-ins from. There's a fair bit of information included in each of these workbooks. For an example, your Office 365 workbook, if you have a look at that, you can select the workload. So I'm just going to do SharePoint. I'm going to select all users. You can see there, that's the information that's included as part of what type of activity you are seeing on SharePoint. But yeah, I mean, if you go through each of these workbooks, they'll take you over specific information to each of these Microsoft products as part of Microsoft Sentinel. Next, we will go ahead and set up a playbook. So to set up your playbooks, you'll first want to go back into your Microsoft Sentinel dashboard, and then you'll want to go into automation. And once you're in automation, you'll want to go into playbook templates. Now when you do go into playbook templates, you'll be presented with a list of playbooks that are available based on the content that we deployed through the content hub from before. Now as part of this lab, I'm interested in setting up the block intra ID user incident playbook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the playbook, and then I'm going to select create playbook. Next, I will go ahead and make sure that's actually deploying to the required resource group. I'm going to leave the name as is. I don't want any log analytics for the playbooks, so I'm just going to leave that unchecked, and then I'm going to go connections, and then review and create, and then create playbook. So the playbook itself will take about 2 to 3 minutes to roll out. And yeah, once the playbook is done deploying, you'll be able to see the playbook itself, and you'll be presented with the logic app designer. Now once you do get into this app designer, one thing you'll want to do is you'll first want to make sure your connections are all set up. So first, from the drop downs on these processors, select anything that's got an invalid connection, and let's go ahead and update the connection. Now in my case, I want to use my administrator account to grant access to these connections. So you might be presented with a window to actually consent to Microsoft Entra ID, to the Microsoft Entra ID connection, and you'll need to grant those permissions. You just need to hit consent on behalf of your organization. You'll need to accept that. And then I want to go down each branch just to make sure all the connections are up to date. So I can see here there's another connection that needs to be updated, so I'm just going to select the correct connection, and I can see here there's a connection for emails which I also need to update. So I'm just going to add my account in there. So that branch is fine. Just want to check the second branch. So yeah, that all looks good to me. Next, once you've confirmed all the validity of all the connections, you can go ahead and hit save. So we'll hit save on that. And now that is your Microsoft Playbook, your Sentinel Playbook. And this is going to help automate certain responses to our incidents and alerts. Next, let's go ahead and set up a Microsoft Sentinel Analytics rule. So to do that, you'll need to jump back into the Microsoft Sentinel dashboard, and then you want to go into Analytics. And you will have a list of rule templates here. This will be based on the content that we deployed earlier on our content hub. From here, now the rule that I want to do is I want to do a rule that's going to detect any rejected MFA attempts. So for an example, if an end user rejects an MFA attempt, I want to be able to detect that. So I am going to look for MFA rejected by user, the rule, and I am going to select that, and I am going to hit create rule. Now as part of this rule, you can change it up, you can change up the name, the description to suit your environment, but I'm gonna for the purpose of this lab, I'm gonna stick with the default information here, and then I'm gonna hit next. And then you want to wait for your rule to run, and you want to make sure there's no errors here. And now I can see there's no errors here, and if you do see an error here, one thing you might have to do is you might have to jump back into your Sentinel Workspace, go into settings, workspace settings, and you want to set your UEBA. So you want to select set, and make sure you select Microsoft Enter ID, and then your audit logs, sign-in logs, and then just hit apply for both of these, and make sure you've turned on the UEBA feature. Now jumping back into the rule, let's jump back into our MFA reject rule. Just going to hit create rule. Nice, happy with the defaults. Yep, the rule looks good. I'm going to hit next. I'm pretty happy with the default incident settings as well, so I'm going to hit next. Now this is generally where you would have included your playbook as part of a automation response, but as you can see, it's no longer supported on this specific page. Instead, we will have to set it up on a different location on the Microsoft Sentinel dashboard, so we're going to ignore this for now. We're going to hit review create, and that'll go ahead and validate the rule, and we can hit save for the rule to be created. Now if you have a look at your active rules, you'll notice here now you've got the new rule that we created. Next, let's go ahead and apply our playbook to our analytics rule. So you'll need to go back into the Microsoft Sentinel dashboard, and then you'll need to go into automation, and then you'll need to go into active playbooks, and just make sure your playbook is enabled. And once you've confirmed that, you can go back into automation rules, and then from the drop down you'll select create and then automation rule. I'm going to give my automation rule a name that's going to be meaningful to my organization. In your case, you can give it a name that's meaningful to you. So I'm going to name this block rejected MFA accounts. Next, the rule that I want this playbook to apply to is the MFA rejected by user rule, so I'm going to select that, and then from the actions drop down I'm going to select run playbook, and then I'm gonna select the playbook that we created before, and once that's all done, I'm gonna hit apply. And yeah, once you see your automation rule here, now you've set up your playbook, you've set up your analytics rule, and you are pretty much all good to go with the baselines of Microsoft Sentinel. And thanks for watching the video today, guys. I hope you learned something. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section. I'll leave out some extra information in regards to Microsoft Sentinel in the description. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you do have any friends or your colleagues who are looking to set up Microsoft Sentinel, please share the video as well. And until I catch you guys next time, I'll see you later.